this constant thing that if you eat cake and you take medicine and you have diabetes, you're normal. But if you don't eat that and you're feeling great and you're looking great and you have perfect skin and and you're thin, you're not normal. You're sick. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you eating ice cream?
Vanessa, how did you find Carnivore?
Thank you, Dave, and thank you for this opportunity for being on your channel and for sharing my little story with your community. I found Carnivore 2 years ago. Um, in 2016, I suffered from a really bad stomach infection in Mexico, which I just found out last week. I was hospitalized and they finally found what I have, and which is Clostridium difficile. It's a nasty bacteria in your stomach. And what happens is that your electrolytes go down immensely to the point that you have a heart attack and you die. Uh, Constant nausea, constant vomiting, constant diarrhea, and you look like you're 9 months pregnant. So a lot of people who have IBS will then move on to getting this bacteria. And the problem is that if you don't treat it with the right antibiotic, it only grows. So every time I've been hospitalized in the last 2, 3 years, I've always received the wrong bacteria. So I've just gotten more and more sick. So thank you, doctors. So I found Carnivore 2 years ago. That's how it started. After the first time I was hospitalized, I really wanted to cleanse my diet, and I found the Steak and Butter Girl. I found her channel. I found the how important it was with doctor, to eat liver, for example, and just to have a clean diet. And I realized that the more carbs I ate, the more vegetables I ate, the more sick I got, and the more inflamed and water retention I had. So the carnivore definitely helped. At the beginning, I was more sort of a ketovore, but then gradually there were more and more things I couldn't tolerate anymore, to the point that at the end it was just meat, water, salt, mustard maybe, and even the mustard I couldn't take. And after that, even the salt I couldn't take. So I've shifted from carnivore to lion diet, and now I'm able to add a couple of more meats that I wasn't able to add before. So maybe I could just share what my diet was until just a few months ago. That was practically just lamb, beef, um, and water, and liver, and bone broth. A lot of bone broth for the stomach, but still I kept getting sick. Um, and after my hospitalization last week in intensive care, I can now eat pork, for example, which is incredible. However, I cannot eat brine. I cannot have bacon, unfortunately. It has to be pure pork. So no additives in there. So now I can have pork and I can have chicken broth and obviously the lamb and the beef. Yeah, so that's my current diet, and it's really changed my life. Yes, I've had these issues, but had it not been for carnivore, I mean, I think I would have been dead, honestly, by now. For the last 2 years, for example, I was wheelchair bound. I couldn't walk anywhere, and now I walk up to an hour a day, which is a miracle. So the things that I've healed from, depression and anxiety, number one. And I think it happens specifically with females a lot. I was always a workaholic in my life, um, from school to university to my career. It was all about working hard. Um, don't look at the hours. Make as much money as you possibly can. It was a rat race, and I'm getting out of that rat race now. So no more depression and anxiety. The moment I stopped all the sugars, all the carbs, and I just stuck to meat, depression just vanished. I remember even the day when it vanished. It was like a massive cloud that just lifted, and I felt happy for the first time in my life. I it was magic. It was purely magic. And then this foggy brain. I just felt so stupid at times at work, you know. I just like, you know what? The brain isn't working anymore, which is obvious. I kept stuffing myself with candy all the time and chips and fast food, you know. And then this this stress I had, you know, I would just binge at night on you know, just to get the emotions out. I think way of dealing with my stress. So my binge food would be fries or, you know, chips, and then as well as mashed potatoes. Those were my favorite for some odd reason, and then endless candy. I was a sugar addict, 100%. And then I also suffer from hemorrhoids, those nasty little buggers as well. And then the constant, sorry for being so crude, but the constant diarrhea. I had diarrhea up to 30 times a day. So if I wasn't in meetings, if I wasn't on the phone with a client, I was in the toilet. That was pretty much my life. It was, yeah, I know. How I hid it from my staff was, you know, um, and then I also had rotting teeth and gums. And since I've been carnivore, for example, I've noticed that my jaw has become more square here, and I have no more gum problems. I, you know, every time I go to the dentist, they're like, "Why do you even come? Your teeth are perfect. It's a waste of time." And they become a lot whiter. Also, my sight, for example, I don't wear glasses anymore. So that's also thanks to carnivore. And then other things like no more wheelchair bound, as I just mentioned. I had horrible acid reflux every night. Also, I would lose my hair, you know, and for girls, you know, we like our long hair and it kept falling off. And my hair was turning white, was turning gray. And since I've gone carnivore, I have no more gray hair, as you can see, and it's just grown like weeds. My hair is just, you know, and it's never been so thick in my life. And then, oh, with the sort of eating I was doing before, I suffer from immense water retention, especially, you know, my stomach, my thighs. I was always bloated, and I even had like symptoms of lymphedema coming. And then yeah, and then since I've been on the carnivore diet, my body, it's a bit like this film. I think it's with it's called Death Becomes Her. It's an old 90s movie where Meryl Streep um, drinks a special potion and she becomes sort of 30 years younger. That's exactly how I felt with carnivore. I just felt how my body just went really tight everywhere. And also my face was so bloated before with all the vegetables and all the sugar I was eating. I look like a balloon. I see if you compare old pictures and now, it's amazing. And another thing, Dave, I I used to do Botox every 6 months before. I haven't had Botox in a year and a half since I've gone carnivore. Um, and I don't wear makeup anymore. And again, as a woman, you know, who's always worn makeup since she was 15, and I always had, you know, some spots here and there and blackheads, my skin has never been so clean. I don't wear makeup anymore. And my face is chiseled, and again, as a woman, we like those features. And then the double eyelids. I know Steak and Butter Gal. She also talks about the sort of the double eyelids, and I agree with her. The moment I stopped all the fast food, all the junk, I feel pretty good.
Well, congratulations
Yeah,
on a number of fronts. Feeling so good on carnivore, all the improvements, but also congratulations on them finding
yeah,
what was wrong with your stomach. So, as far as your stomach goes, that's resolved now. They just gave you the right antibiotics, and that's resolved.
Yes, I finished taking my antibiotics this week. Yes, I'm still feeling weak. I'm not 100% up there, but it is better. They would like me to do just a col let me see if I remember the word in English, colonoscopy, where they just go into the stomach just to make sure it's not there's nothing else. But I think that that is something, Dave. I don't know if you agree with me, but I think that is something that carnivore could not have helped because it was a bacteria that just kept growing, uh, which I caught in Mexico when I was working in Mexico. Uh, 6 years ago, and I'm just so happy they were able to find it. But again, a funny situation is that every time I'm hospitalized, the food is just horrible. It's really that mass produced, the carbs, full of potatoes. They always give you dessert, and every time I was hospitalized because I'm pretty thin, I think, and they just and they want to feed me cake. They want to feed me carbs. They say, Vanessa, you need to eat up. You're too skinny. I'm like, well, it's not my fault. I mean, for example, the disease makes me also sick, the constant vomiting and dehydration and electrolytes going down. So they kept pumping me with fluids, so I would always leave hospital like really, I mean, bloated. I would, and in November when I was hospitalized, I think I put on, and we don't talk about that on the internet, on YouTube, which is really a shame. In November when I was hospitalized last time, I think, I had put on 5 to 6 kilos just of water weight of all the electrolytes. But in 2 weeks with carnivore, Dave, everything disappeared. Everything disappeared. And same thing this time last week when I got out of hospital, I think I'd had 3 extra kilos just in the space of 2 days, Dave, with the carnivore diet. All the liquid, all the fluid disappeared. It was like I'd never been to hospital. That would never happen on the standard diet. Never. So yeah. And for me,
That's great.
yeah. And then I just wanted to add, I was thinking about our talk today. And I don't see this as a diet. I see this as a lifestyle. Because not only have I eliminated a bunch of crap in my food regimen, I've also cleaned up my life thanks to carnivore. So this elimination, I've done it with where I live. I've done it with the people that surround me. I've done it with my work and my future and my career. So I really think that the food we eat is the fundamental for everything around.
Definitely. So, how are you eating now? Like, you eating once, twice a day?
I do OMAD. I love OMAD. OMAD, the reason why is because I like to go home, turn everything off and relax, and it's my time. It's me time. And I enjoy the meal. I really enjoy eating carnivore. And so I have a window, an eating window of maybe 2 hours because I don't eat that fast, And in these bone broths, I always start with either a chicken broth or a meat broth of some sort or bone broth. I live, and then where I live right now, I have access to deer meat. I have access to elk and other wild animals. So, and the meat is so amazing, and the bones you get from these gorgeous animals they're so full of minerals, Dave. They're so rich. So after one cup, you're pretty full. So you need to wait maybe 20 minutes before you have another cup. And then I'll have a piece of meat. And currently I'm like pork obsessed. Yeah. I'm really enjoying pork, but again, it's not the brined pork. That I cannot tolerate. My stomach gets really sick. Don't give me bacon. That doesn't work.
So, whereabouts in the world are you?
So again, with this amazing carnivore lifestyle, and then in November, after being hospitalized for the second time, I decided it was time to change my life. Basically, I've been CIO, so I've been as I've been CEO and CIO and head of communication for the majority of my life around the world in major companies, from the USA to Mexico to Norway, Europe, um, and the Middle East. So for the last 7 years, I was living in the Middle East, between Dubai and Saudi Arabia, and I moved to Sweden. So that's where I'm originally from. I'm half Swedish, half French, and I moved back to Sweden in December, and I bought my little house in Lapland. So it's above the Arctic Circle where I live. Yeah. So I'm just next to I'm deep in the forest. There's a small village, and everyone hunts. Everyone has deers, um, and we're just surrounded by forest and mountains. And it's the best life I've ever had. It's really so. I just bought a house. I'm renovating right now, and I'm stopping my career, my job, which I've had for the last 25 years, and I'm starting something completely new. Again, thanks to Carnivore. Yeah,
That's that's a massive change.
yes. I'm going back to university in January, here in Sweden, and I'm going to study theology. So yeah. So the plan is to become a priest in 4 years' time, and to give back to community. Now that I feel that I've become a different person, and finance is and this rat race is not something for me anymore.
Hmm.
Mm.
It's kind of like good experience, but you know, at some point it's got to come to an end for your own benefit, right?
Yeah, it's empty.
Mm.
It's always about taking, and I feel that the people are too superficial. And again, with carnivore, you become so much in tune with yourself. Like, I've really learned to listen to my body, and my body speaks to me. Like, it tells me, okay, Vanessa, today I want to eat this. Or now you've had enough. Don't eat anymore. You're stuffed. So, and I didn't have that before. So I feel there's a certain connection which I have now, thanks to carnivore, with myself, and being in tune and listening to what the body wants. Is it feeling good? What would it like to eat? What does it not tolerate? I don't know. It just becomes part of everything. Hard to say.
Wow, nice. So has anyone noticed your way of eating over the last 2 years?
Yes, definitely. And in Sweden, you need to eat your carbs. In Sweden, it's I think it's every time you have coffee, you need to have a slice of cake. Otherwise, there's something really not right with you. Uh, So at the beginning, it's where are your vegetables? Why aren't don't you want a piece of cake? What's wrong with you? And it's crazy. Like all the other individuals you've spoken to in your interviews, and I've watched all of them. This constant thing that if you eat cake and you take medicine and you have diabetes, you're normal. But if you don't eat that, and you're feeling great and you're looking great and you have perfect skin, and and you're thin, you're not normal. You're sick. What's wrong with you? Why aren't you eating ice cream? So yes, I'm the only one, unfortunately, who's doing it. And but I couldn't care less. I couldn't care less. I People can talk whatever they want. My health, it's about me first. It's really about me.
And in Sweden, what's the climate like as far as pushing plant-based eating? Because I heard that's quite big in Europe now.
Yeah, it is very big. For example, when I was living in Dubai, I had access to your beautiful Australian meat, which I would always buy, but the fatty cuts, because I understand that uh, the Australians, they keep the the skinny cuts, or the cuts without any fat. So we get all the fatty bits. So we get all your fatty lamb and all your fatty steaks. So I've had a blast in Dubai. But in Sweden, I have a great relationship with my butcher, so I'm able to get all the meats that I want. And my neighbors are all hunting, so I get to get some lovely, some nice slabs of rabbit meat, deer meat, elk meat. So I'm living the best life for sure. But veganism and vegetarianism, even if you stay in hospital, if you say that you're a vegetarian, they will give you a full vegetarian menu. If you tell them that you're a carnivore, they look at you like, "What's wrong with you?" You're having an eating disorder. Um, you know. So that's the sort of, and it's interesting. Even if you fly, I don't know, if whatever airline you take, and then you can choose ahead in advance what kind of menu. There will always be a vegetarian menu, but there's never a. I don't know if you've noticed, but there's never a meat only menu. But here in Lapland, they're big meat eaters because here we have a lot of Laplanders, so they're a bit like the native Indians in the US, and they all came from sort of from, I think they're derived from the Eskimos, but those sort of people, they really believe in the proper human diet. So it's a lot of clean ingredients. So we have a lot of that here. If they do consume herbs and vegetables, it's more medicinal, and so you have those who just eat fast food, but there's very little up here where I live. A lot of people really enjoy cooking, and the supermarket, the quality of the food is very good. But if you go down to the south, it's a lot of fast food, pizza, burgers, and things like that.
So where you are now, how long have you lived there?
So since February, and yeah, since February.
So February would have been pretty cold, no?
Oh yes, we have -40 in the winter time, and we only have one day, one
Celsius.
Celsius, yes, and we have 1 hour of daylight the whole of winter. So it's completely black. And in the summer we have 24 hours sun. And now I'm
Yeah.
enjoying the last day of sun, and I think it's, yeah, in 1 month's time we'll probably have snow, which is really crazy.
So how is it for you when you only have 1 hour of sun? Because I was in Lapland in Finland a few years ago, and it was so it was so difficult to get used to. It's always feels like nighttime. How is that for you?
Oh, but it's so, for me, it's so beautiful because the sky, here there's no pollution, and the sky is so clean, it's so clear, so the stars are so bright, and the snow is so white. So I don't know, for me, it just makes me happy. And then you get to ski, and it's really magical here, and there's so much mineral in the ground, and the water is so clean. It's a massive detox when you come up here. So if you're stressed, come to Lapland because here, everything just disappears. Uh, so it's been absolutely fine. I love it. I love the silence and the quiet.
Yeah. Oh,
It's a nice
nice.
break. It's a nice break after, you know, uh, Dubai and Mexico and Paris and London, these cities that just never stop.
Yeah. It's 180 degrees, right? It's just nice and peaceful and yeah. Yeah. So going forward, after you've studied, do you think like when you eventually become a priest, it's going to be around that area?
Yes, yes. And as I'll be working a lot with the community, I will try to pass my message of carnivore as much as possible because you work a lot with the elderly, all ages up here. It's You have pretty much an active role, so it's not, you're just not church bound, but you spend a lot of time in the homes of the elderly, and also in schools. So what I've learned, I do want to pass it on. I really do want to pass it on. Yeah.
Yeah. So speaking of that, if you were talking about this with someone and they expressed interest in giving it a try, what advice would you give them to get started so that they can stick to it?
Dave, I was actually thinking about that because at some point, you start with just, well, first, I think each person knows themselves best, and what works for you may not work for me, and vice versa. But I would have preferred personally if I'd gone straight to carnivore without and just stopped all the vegetables at once. I think, but I didn't know about the pure meat, about I just knew about this keto diet first. So I feel that I wasted time. I would have preferred just to jump straight into carnivore, but that's just because I'm someone who can easily get hooked on food. And for me, only abstinence works. Either I smoke or I don't smoke. Either I drink or I don't drink. For me, the sort of thing we say in France, oh, you can just have a small slice of cake. No, sweetie, that doesn't work with me. Either you give me the whole cake or it's nothing. So either or. For me personally, I would have preferred to have gone straight into carnivore and then line diet. But at least if people could just eat your vegetables from up here from the northern part of Sweden where there are no pesticides and no crazy things in the plants, and they haven't traveled you know a, around the globe just to get to the supermarket, and then just pure meat. I would probably just advise them to start with that, and I'm sure they would see massive difference anyway.
Definitely.
Mm,
So, do you feel this is restrictive for you?
not at all. I not at all. I really love it because there's so many different types of meat, and I don't eat the same thing every day. The one thing that I don't really like is, and I know a lot of people on carnivore eat that, and I think you do too, but minced meat or ground beef is just, I don't know. I don't like it very much. Maybe it doesn't have a lot of fat in the ones that I have here. I only get they only have maximum of 20% fat. But I don't know. I just prefer a nice steak or a nice piece of lamb or a nice piece of pork, or a nice even organic fat chicken that I make a soup out of. But ground beef, it's not really my cup of tea, and I don't eat any dairy, any cheese or anything like that. Cheese just doesn't work for me, unfortunately. And again, I have this problem that if I start eating cheese, I'll eat the whole Parmigiano. I don't know how to stop.
Yeah, same here. It's kind of all or nothing. Yeah,
All or nothing. Don't consume salt, um,
right.
electrolytes anymore. The electrolytes, they unfortunately the ones we have here in Sweden, they have a lot of sort of dextrose and artificial sweeteners in them, and I don't tolerate that. And the salt just makes me bloated, and I just get so much water retention, so that doesn't work. But do try to, I notice that depending, often the meat that I want to have, or if I want to eat liver that day, it's because I need certain minerals. And what I love about the carnivore diet is that you're really satisfied. You feel that you're eating vitamins, you're eating minerals, you're eating potassium and calcium and vitamin K and all these beautiful um, ingredients that I can't find in the standard diet. The other day, just a few days ago, I wanted to test something, and I actually made myself a vegetable soup, and it was nice. It was nice. I had it was carrot and leek soup, which I just boiled in water and then I blended. But 3 hours later, it had all gone out. Literally, I went to the bathroom and it just came out. And I think what's his name? Kent, that
Ken
Carnivore.
Carnivore.
Yes, I love his videos as well. I watch him a lot, and he explains how, you know, when he used to eat vegetables, everything would come out in the exact pieces in his bag, right? The same thing happened to me. 3 hours later, everything came out like it came in. Sorry for being so blunt, but there's no. And then you're hungry again because everything's gone out, so you have to eat again. Well, you don't have that problem with a carnivore diet. So it was a nice experiment. I just wanted to see what would happen.
Vanessa, is there any way people can reach out to you by social media or anything like that?
I stopped all social media, unfortunately, but you have my email. So if you want to share that with anyone, that's no problem at all. But again, with the carnivore, I just stopped all this Facebook or Instagram, and it's too much noise. It's too much noise. I may consider starting my own little YouTube channel, something about me moving to Lapland and starting a new life. It would be more of a new life up here in Lapland, but where I would integrate a sort of whole lifestyle way of living, not, and of course I would talk about carnivores. So I'm thinking about that. All your videos are persuading me, but I haven't taken that step yet.
No worries. So I'll include your email in the show notes.
But
Vanessa, thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story. I really appreciate your time, and really happy to know that you're doing much better now.
thank you so much, and well done for all the work that you do. Seriously, your videos are such a blessing to all of us and to your community. So I'm the one to thank you, Dave, for everything.